NDTV continues to highlight the education crisis that this has caused in the midst of the pandemic due to the financial compulsions. Children are being forced to drop out from school. Here's our continuous coverage. The story from Telangana, where school children are now farm laborers.
Mamta wants to be a software engineer. Instead, this 15-year-old who has just passed 10th class is on the field every day transplanting paddy, plucking out weeds, applying manure. Today she is planting chili saplings, earning up to 100 rupees for work all day long.
చదవడానికి కూడా చాలా ఇబ్బంది ఉంది. ఇట్లా కాలేజ్ స్టార్ట్ అయితే అంటే చదువుకొని సాఫ్ట్వేర్ కావాలనే నా గోల్. అన్న తమ్ముడు కూడా బాగా చదువుతారు. కానీ లాక్డౌన్ వల్ల అందరూ చేయలేక రావాల్సి వస్తుంది. అమ్మ వాళ్ళ కష్టం చూడలేక మేము కూడా చేయలేక వచ్చి చేసేస్తున్నాం పని.
Yellama is heartbroken. All her 3 school-going children have been forced to become labor because they have suffered huge financial setbacks due to lockdown, she says.
ఏటల్లం దొరకొచ్చుకుంటే కూడా ఇవ్వాలి వాళ్ళకు కూడా డబ్బులు. మేము కూడా పోతాం మేడం బయట పనికి, కూలి పనికి పోతాం. ఈ వర్షం వల్ల పోలే ఈరోజు, కానీ రోజు డైలీ పోతాం కూలి. మేము ఇట్లా
చేతిలో కొంచెం డబ్బులు కావాలి.
డబ్బులు కావాలి కదా మేడం. ఇప్పుడు ఏం పనులే చేసుకుంటానికి.
మంచిగా చదువుకోవాలని మేము అనుకున్నాం. వాళ్ళు పని చేయాల్సిన అవసరం మాకు లేదు. వాళ్ళు మంచిగా చదువుకొని రేపు ఫ్యూచర్ అలా బాగుపడితే చాలా అనుకున్నాం మేము. అది కరోనా వల్ల ఏమైనా కూరగాయ తోటలు ఏ తోటలు పెట్టినా కానీ రేట్లు ఏం లేవు.
For Ram and Lakshman, this should have been a busy academic year in 10th class. Instead, every day they are busy grazing goats and cattle or go wherever they can find work and some earning.
నా పేరు లక్ష్మణ్. నేను 9th క్లాస్ చదువుతున్నాను. కరోనా వల్ల ఈ పని చేస్తున్నాను. మా పేరెంట్స్కి హెల్ప్ చేస్తున్నాను. నేను స్కూల్స్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తే చదువుకోవాలనిపిస్తుంది.
బాగాలేవు పరిస్థితులు, ఇట్లా డైలీ చేనులకు వచ్చి ఏదో ఒక పని చేసుకుంటున్నాం.
Activists estimate that just in Telangana, nearly 12 lakh school-going children have turned into labor because of the impact of the corona pandemic. They worry many vulnerable children may even drop out, taking the clock back some 10 to 20 years.
Across rural areas, children are out in the fields working as labor. Even though it is peak agricultural season, there is no shortage because children are available aplenty as cheap labor.
In Mulugu, with camera person Nagaraju, Sudhir, NDTV.
Well, let's go across to Sudhir for more on that story. And this is such a disturbing aspect of the pandemic and the impact that it's had on children. We talk about job losses, we talk about GDP, but this aspect of children dropping out of school, and there's no guarantee that once schools open, these children will go back because their families need them to work.
Yes, indeed, Gargi. Statistics, in fact, some of the studies seem to indicate that more than 56% of the parents have in fact lost all livelihood, all income, and therefore the impact on children is to be but expected. I am in fact joined by Shantha Sinha, who is somebody who's been very passionate in working on child rights, Ramon Magsaysay award winner, former chairperson of the National Protection for Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Ma'am, thank you for joining us. You just heard this report as well. What is the kind of situation we are seeing? Because some activists seem to suggest that as many as 20% of school-going children, which means just 12 lakh, just in Telangana, are in danger of becoming child labor, and many of them could even drop out of school. And is this restricted to Telangana?
What you say is quite right. This is what one is hearing from the field. From Telangana, almost every other child is now working on farms, cotton farms, chili farms, paddy, and young boys are getting into work as head load carriers. This is shocking, and I don't see why they have to work, why there is a need for them to work. There is a government, there is state, there are state provisioning, there are acts that should protect them and their food security. And in Telangana, the midday meal scheme is not on at all. In many states, you find that rations for children have gone home. In Andhra Pradesh, you find they're distributing eggs home. In many other states, this is happening. But why is it that in Telangana, there has not been a revival of midday meal program for children? It's not just midday meal program. I mean, there are so many other anxieties that children face. I think it is time that the government assures the children and tells them that you don't have to work, we will reopen the school, and give them other little tasks to do, like taking care of younger children, do some peer learning for them. There's so many activities of education that these children can do within their own little centers. Actually, this is happening in some NGO-driven programs in Telangana, in Orissa, in Bihar, in Rajasthan. There are many, many youth that are participating in child-related activities. Why is it that here the government has not thought of anything where you can engage these young boys and girls into doing some kinds of activities which are productive and which fit into their age? So I think the government has lost its capacity to be innovative, to be creative, and they're forcing children into work. As you say, the cost of inaction is going to be immense. It is an intergenerational crisis that we are in at the moment.
Ma'am, you spoke about, in a sense, the failure of the Telangana government to engage. But everywhere this crisis is there, and when family income is going down so drastically, isn't it a natural fallout? The children will start looking for whatever work they can get. And is this really limited to a Telangana? What are you? You're someone who has, been following the children's situation everywhere across the country. Has the central government also been able to have some kind of a policy for children when this corona pandemic has come about, and we can see that they are perhaps the most vulnerable section?
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't say it is only Telangana. I would say that this is true of most of the states in the country, where they have been totally, insensitive to children in their plight. Let me tell you, children are not responsible for their poverty. They are not responsible for where they have been born, which caste they have been born, which community they've been born. So they cannot hold the burden of what the state has to do for the poor and for their livelihoods. Why are we forever telling that because they are poor, children have to work? Certainly not. They don't have to work. If children are poor, their families are poor, then it is for the state to take care of the children and the families, and to relieve children of the burden of work. Let us stop saying that children need to work. They don't need to work. The state has every responsibility to come up with programs and policies for engaging them and to seeing that they don't have to work. So I think this argument that children need to work is totally infructuous. We should never use that argument as far as children are concerned. What is the government for? Yeah. What is the state for?